Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I finally decided to make a tier list for headphones that I own and owned. Some of them I sold, and some of them I tried. So first, I want to talk about myself and how I got into this hobby. I got into this hobby approximately 10 years ago, where I wanted to buy an audiophile headphones, and I remember it was from V-Moda. It sounded bassy and it was all right, I guess, but as a matter of fact, it's a very muddy headphone. Um, so I wanted to also try other like headphones, and I wanted to buy an ear headphones from Shure, their flagship. It was very expensive, probably like 1,000 US dollar, and thank God that I didn't buy that in-ear headphones, because I'm not into in-ear headphones, IEMs, and any type of IEMs, because they give me like a pain in my ear. So the best for me is just open back headphones. So at that time, I wanted to like buy the best headphones. This is like a misconception where you think that if you buy the best headphones, you just end up being just buying one. And I bought the HD 800S, even though that I spent so much time thinking about it, maybe like 2 years, like to pull the trigger on them, and I finally did. And what people see on internet uh, for like this is the best headphone, it may not be really the best for you, because the HD 800S, they're great, but they don't provide me with the sound signature that I like. They're very bright, and I like headphones that have rich mids, thick sound, bassy. So definitely the HD 800 didn't cut it for me. I'm not bashing them. I still own them. They're still great, but I wanted to jump into other sound signatures. So I bought the everything what you see on the D tier list. Um, I first tried the DT 770 and the Philips one, the 9500, the Audio Technica, the AKG 702, and also the Hyphen 400 SE. And that's basically the history of my crazy hobby and obsession about headphones. And right now, I can just say I'm reaching toward the end game, at least for headphones, not DACs and amps. At least for headphones, I can just say I'm very close, or I can even say I already achieved my end game. But because I love headphone and try different kinds, I still want to try, for example, the Carbon 2, the LCD 4Z, and because I think these kind of headphones fall into what kind of category I like the most. So there is still more headphones to try, and I want you to look at this table and see that there are uh, S and A's and B's and C's and D's and trash. So each category has also sub ranking. So for example, in the A tier, you will see that the LCD-X is higher than the LCD3, and the LCD3 is higher than the Mesa Elite, for example. And the most important contributing factor in ranking these, not only sound but also value for money, because this is something that you learn along the way. This is something that you learn when you buy a headphone and you like it, but then you buy something very expensive, and then you say, why did I buy it? It didn't give me a satisfaction as the cheaper headphone. So I think value for money is really important for someone who like to collect headphones. So I think my favorite type of sound signature headphones are the warm as they can get. They can be even dark. I do enjoy them. I like punchiness in the bass. Um, so some of them can be like fast punch, attacky, like the Focals, or they can be punch with decay in the bass, something like the LCDs. They tend to do that. And I also like fast headphones. The way they carry out the tone, they can be very fast, no decay, something like the Focals, or some of them have more decay in the sound, that it can lingers more in the tone, something like the LCDX. So I do enjoy them. I do enjoy what I described, but mostly the one with the decay and the bass and also the overall sound. And my system, the one I'm using right now, is I'm using the RME ADI2, the non-pro, and I think it's a magnificent audio device. It's highly recommended. It's very clean, clinical, and bass is very punchy. I like that about it. And it can be sometimes a little bit sterile and boring, you can say. So that's why I paired it with the Lear as an amp. So Lear gives me depth in the bass, the overall sound, mids also, they sound more 3D. Soundstage, it opens up the sound more in regard how 3D it feels. So there is more weight in the sound. I like these two devices together. I think they can be great combo. And Lear is what you call a tube amp. So I've recently purchased both, and I think I've gotten myself into the tube amp rabbit hole. I feel like I still need to discover more tube amps, but I'm afraid that I will not get enough bass from them. So the Lear is a perfect match, you could say, because it has slam, and it's a hybrid amp. So I think it perfectly match my taste. Okay, so you see here this table, and you see the S rank and the trash rank, they're empty. I mean, for the S rank, I can throw in a couple of headphones here, but I still didn't give myself enough time to demo them more or even own them. Something like, I can see the Carbon 2 being there, I can see the LCD4Z there, but for the time being it's more fair just to leave it empty, because I feel like I need more time with these headphones. So for the trash, I also don't want to be so harsh on some headphones, but definitely the gaming headphones, all of them, even though they can be pricey, it doesn't matter. I've tried the best headphones in gaming, as they call the best. They're all trash. They can't be good for gaming, they can be good for music. The way the companies, how they adjust their sound, they can be muted in the mids, they don't give enough details in the mids, they sparkly, like sharp in the treble, they can be bloated in the bass, sometimes not all of them. So I don't really recommend them, and I feel like it's just calling headphones gaming headphones is just a scam, basically, because a lot of these headphones, if not all of them, are actually suitable for gaming, because you can just EQ them and make them more pronounced in the upper mids or whatever frequencies you want to, and they can be good for gaming, for example. But to call a headphone it's a gaming headphone, it's just stupid to me, and it's just I think we need to end this gaming headphone. It makes no sense. I think consumer just blinded by whatever written on internet and marketing and all that. A lot of these headphones are so good for gaming, as a matter of fact, even though they can be cheap, but still they're cheaper than gaming headphone and good for music and gaming. So that's why I think gaming headphones, just throw them in the trash. Alright, so I would like to talk about the A class here. Funny thing is that you see the two headphones similar to each other, the first one in the A tier and the first one in the C tier. Those are actually different headphones, and a lot of people get confused when they see them. They're not the same. The first one in the A tier, this is the LCDX, which I'm wearing right now, and the first one in the C tier, these are the LCD2 classics. And how can you differentiate between them is if you look at the blog, how it's centered on the LCD-X and more backward than how the plugs are presented on the LCD2C. They're more forward. That's how you can tell the difference. And LCD-X, I think, looks better positioned than the LCD2, which can be more protruded. So my overall favorite headphones are the LCD-X. I think they're crazy headphones. They're good at all the frequencies except maybe the treble. I have heard headphones where they can be better in the treble for the LCD-X, but the LCD-X gives me the enjoyment that I want to get from listening to music. They're heavy tuned, so they produce heavy and rich sounds that I really love. The bass does not get better than this for me. I think bass is very rich, and it can extend to lower frequencies. Not as much as the LCD3, but enough for me to enjoy music. It's very punchy. I like this about them. And there is also decay in the punch, exactly the sound signature that I like. They're a little bit warm, which is something I like. They're not very neutral, although they can be very neutral with EQ. So I'm using Ortari 1990 Profile, which is the most famous guy who EQ headphones, and they sound so clean and very enjoyable. Sometimes can be boring, so I switch between stock to this guy EQ Profile, and they've been great. I have no complaint about the LCD-X. Clarity wise is there, everything is there. The mids, they're very good, clean, and the treble, I don't think I need more than this in the treble. It's already pronounced, but other headphones do a better job in the treble. Second headphone in the A tier is the LCD3. It's probably is my favorite headphone because the LCD3 just surprised me of how good it sounds. It has warm sound signature. Maybe it's warmer than you would think, but this is something I can relate to. It's something that you don't use every day. I don't recommend it for everyday use. The LCD3 is warm, and maybe it will sound a little bit muted in the mids, but this is something that I really enjoy, especially if I want to listen to a headphone where I want to relax and just gives me no harsh sounds, very quiet, liquid-like. That's how I would describe this headphone. And at the same time, there is no loss in detail. The mids are there. They sound intimate, not very forward like the LCD-X in the mids. But what's so funny about them is that the triple they produce sound better than the LCD-X. The treble on the LCD3 is very well pronounced and up there. Like you can, I just wait for the track to produce, for example, some high frequency sounds, especially in techno music, and the way the LCD3 produce them is very beautiful. Sometimes also I can hear the cymbal and how it's the LCD can produce these high frequency sounds. It's very, very beautiful. Now for the bass, I think bass, they're the king of sub bass. They extend to lower frequencies. They do great job at this. The bass sounds a little bit loose but enjoyable at the same time, is not controlled as much as the LCD-X. They don't have the same punch as the LCD-X, but what's so funny about the LCD3 is that if you EQ them, I EQ'd the LCD3 and X using the same guy who produced the profile I talked about, or Atari, and both of them sound the same, very clean and clear. and the LCD3 lost its you could say the veil it has in the mids, which where the magic happens, and they sound very neutral as the LCDX. And I was thinking, should I sell the LCDX now that the LCD3 sound the same? But the LCD3 may not exactly sound 100% like the LCDX, because the LCDX has the punch that the LCD3 misses, and also like the spark overall in the upper mids that the LCD3 may not have. So I think I'm keeping both. I'm happy with the LCDX. It's for daily use. LCD3 is for moods when I'm feeling down, for example, and I want to just chill. It's there for these times. Third, I have the Meze Elite. Meze Elite, they're one of the most unique headphones I've listened to. They have dark tonality, which I really like. The mids are, maybe some of you guys may call it muffled, but it's not really. It's just a veil that adds more musicality. It sounds like a warm speaker used in studio. It's very intimate. I remember the vocals sound very intimate and close to you. At the same time, they're warm. And what's so good about them is that the treble is very sparkly and pronounced. Separation in the mids and treble is highly separated. That's why they stand out. For the bass, I remember it being very quick, very controlled, not extended. So that's what I can say about them in the bass. They don't surprise you in the bass. They will surprise you in the mids and overall musicality. I don't own them. I plan to buy them. As of for now, it's something that I don't want to listen to because I'm more concentrated on the LCDs. The Elite, they're very fast. They can be as fast as the Focal. They're very attacky. So I definitely want to own them in the future. What about the Carbon 2? The Carbon 2 is something I auditioned. I did not own, and I auditioned the Carbon 2 in one of those audio convention. There was really a long line, and I wasn't even nervous because long line, and you don't really you're just thinking that it might taking too long. Do I have to finish quick? So I remember listening to a track where it has so much bass in it, and holy man, the bass was so 3D like, the most textured. I think the bass on the Carbon 2 is the best I've ever listened to. Like I couldn't imagine how a bass can be 3D. Like you can feel the texture, and the bass felt like it was an object with dimensions in it, with like looking at a 3D object with length and depth and height. That's exactly how bass felt like. So it's imaginary. I love it. I wish there was more vocals, or probably I don't even remember the vocals. I only remember the bass from them. But overall, they sounded dark, which I enjoy. LCD4Z, there's a question mark on both of them because I didn't audition them enough. I didn't buy them. So the LCD4Z, I remember auditioning them also really quick, same time as the Carbon 2, and they sounded neutralish, at the same time musical and warm. I remember them being very fast, like attacky, like the Focals, and also very punchy. They sounded like there is a firework in your ear. So very energetic headphones, and I've been reading a lot about them, and what sounded to me that the LCD4Z is actually the more revolutionary, or the step up from the LCDX. So the LCD4Z has better bass than the LCDX. The LCD4Z has better tonality than the X. X can be more neutral. 4Z is musical. And I think even they can produce better treble. I can't comment on this, but this is what I'm guessing. So basically the 4Z is gonna be probably my all-time favorite headphones, and it's gonna be on the S tier if it checks all these things that I've just said. But if it's gonna be on a similar level to the LCD-X, then probably not gonna keep it. I'm just gonna stick with the X because value for money is so important for me. The 4Z is 3 times the price of the X. And I remember when I EQ'd the LCD-X, it sounded neutral and also very punchy compared to the stock sound. And I was thinking, is this how the 4Z sounds like? Is this how punchy is the LCD 4Z? And I was thinking maybe I don't even need to buy the 4Z. But I think I'm very excited to try the 4Z. And it's on my wish list for sure. So moving on to the next rank B, and I think I rank the Empyrean 2 from Meze, the first one here, because these headphones are good at everything. They're very clear and detailed. Separation is there. Mids are very enjoyable. Triple. Bass, not heavy in the bass, but they're very fast and attacky, something like the Focal did with their headphones. Very enjoyable. They're not flat or boring. No, they're very musical. I love listening to them. I did not buy them, and I don't think that I will buy them because they're kind of like repetitive in that regard, because I do have LCD-X and they give me the punchiness and the musicality that I want. I don't think there is room for it in my collection for the Empyrean 2. But honestly, if I want to give advice to someone who want to buy like the most expensive headphones, like top tier headphones, I'm probably gonna tell them go ahead and buy the Empyrean 2. They excel at all the spectrum of sound, all the frequencies. They do it really good, and you can just ignore the rest. That's just how I feel about the Empyrean 2. They're really good, and also they're very comfortable. Next one is the Sony MDR Z1R. Let's just call them Z1R. And these are funny ones because when I bought them, I fell in love so quick with them and I hated them all at the same time. They're like your beautiful, as if you have like a beautiful girlfriend and at the same time she's toxic. Would you keep being with her or breaking up with her? Like, what should you do with these headphones? They sound beautiful, but at the same time they can be distorted and ugly. So I think there are a lot of factors when I made my decision to get rid of them. Maybe it was unfair because first of all, I maybe needed time to adjust my ear wise. I needed to spend more time with them, not just a few days. Second of all, maybe I needed a more clinical DAC to purify the muddiness in them in the mids. So how they sounded to me is that they sounded very boomy, bassy. I did like the bass. It's very musical, but the mids and the trebles sounded like they are mixed together. There is no separation in them, and also the sound in the mids overall, like a music, was very far from my ear, and what you hear is just bass, boomy bass, not even punchy. It was boomy and thunderous, like you hear it shaky, and that's how I remember these headphones. Now that I own the Addy 2, which is very clean and clinical, I think I'm gonna give them another go because I actually think that they're very unique in that regard. The bass, I like to keep the unique headphones like the Meze Elite. They're unique in the mids. They have this veil, dark. They're the darkest headphone I listen to, and at the same time they have details. The Z1R also, their bass also very unique. So I want to give them another go. Okay, moving on to the focals, I have the Clear MG as the best one out of them, Stelia, then Utopia. And remember, value for money is very important here. First, I want to talk about the Clear MG, why it's the best out of them. So I was auditioning, I remember, the LCD 2 Classics, then LCD-X, then immediately the Focal Clear MG. And I remember there was a big difference in sound clarity between the LCD-X and the Focal Clear MG. They're both actually warm and musical, but the level of clarity on the MG Pro is higher. You lose bass if you compare the LCD-X and the MG Pro, but from what I remember about them being clear in the mids, sometimes metallic in the triple, which I actually enjoy. But I think overall it can provide very musical experience. There is also bass in them, very tight and controlled. Value for money. Now the Stelia is double the price of the Clear MG, and even though I didn't own the Clear MG, I owned the Stelia, and the Stelia is not really worth that money because you're paying double the price of the Clear MG. For what exactly? You get more isolation, and you get better bass, better sub bass, and more warm. I would say the Stelia is more warm than the Clear MG, but it's not really worth that money to spend double the price for these things that I said. And what's funny is that Stelia to Focal Utopia, which I also own, and I own these two because I'm a fan of the looks of the Focal headphones. They look, I think, very good, especially the Utopia. I think it's the best looking headphones. The colors and the quality, just magnificent. But let's talk about the value for money here, because it's really important. I don't really think it's a big it's worth it to pay this much of money on a headphone like the Focal Utopia. Now I'm gonna tell you what stands out in the Focal Utopia. Clarity, no competition. They stand out the most. Speed, they're very fast, they attack also other headphones. They also have the same speed, something like Meze. Treble, I think they're the best in treble, even better than I think the Meze Elite. Treble is just magnificent on the Utopia. They don't bother you with the mids, like they're not very forward in the mids. I remember the Stelia being more forward in the mids than the Utopia, because I think the Utopia is open back, so it's more, there is more air, and like, because it's an open back, so it doesn't bother you with producing like a claustrophobic experience. So the Utopia is open back and it's more relaxed, and you can also hear the difference between the Focal Stelia and the Utopia. The Utopia has more air in the sound, and sound is more, you can say, not boomy. And because I remember when I used the Stelia, I remember when I used the Stelia, it was a little bit fatiguing, especially if you use it for more than 2 hours. It's probably because it's a closed back headphone. But the Utopia fixed this problem because it's an open back. It's more relaxing on the ears. And I think the Utopia, what stands out the most in them is their clarity, separation. I think these 2 points, there are no other headphones as clear as the Utopia. And also like their bass is very controlled. They're very honest in the bass. They don't extend the bass that much. or I would say they don't exaggerate in the bass that much. They do extend it, but not as the level of the LCD X or LCD 3. So they're very quick with the bass. Bass is very fast. They're overall very fast in carrying out the tone. Um, I think they're enjoyable in the bass. It's something that I would enjoy, but for their price, they can be also a little bit boring in the mids. There is no tone, there is no color in their mids. That's why I am trying to stay away from them, because the more I listen to them, the more I feel like they're boring. So the more I listen to the X or the 3, the more I am enjoying the music, the more it sounds musical to me. So overall, the Utopia, they're very clean and clear. They're very honest. They're probably the most honest headphone you can buy. There is no exaggeration in any kind of frequencies. They're very honest. I do like the bass on them the most. It's very controlled. But it's again the value for money. It's a very important lesson to not really spend that much to enjoy music. You have other alternatives. But who would I recommend Utopia for? Probably for someone who really doesn't care about money, and also for someone who maybe like classical music, because the separation is insane on the Utopia. They're really good, but still not worth that money. I think that's enough about the focals. I can move on to the Sennheisers, and I have about like 4 or 5 here. I'm including the NDH, and actually what you see here is the NDH 20. I didn't buy the 20, they're closed back. I bought the NDH 30, so assume that what you're seeing is the NDH 30. And out of these, I think the best out of the Sennheiser is the 660 S2. As a matter of fact, the best value for money as for headphones is the 660 S2. I think these are insane for the value you get, especially if you buy them on discount. Sometimes they go as low as 60% of their price, so there is like 40% discount on them on Amazon, and this is when I recommend you guys to buy them for 40% off. So why I like these the most, I think the S2 fixes the problem of the predecessors of this series, the 650 and the 600. They sound the most musical out of all Sennheiser I tried and owned. The sub bass is very pronounced, and there is rumble on the bass. They sound the most musical. Mids are, I can't say they're very clear as the HD 600. They adjusted the mids and the treble just to be as musical and blended with the new tonality they introduced with their bass adjustment. So that's what I can say mostly about them. They're the most musical and enjoyable, and they're very good for genres, popular genres like the R&B and hip hop, and most of music you listen to on your radio, if you listen to radio. So this is what I can say the most about them. They're very good for their price and very musical, and I would recommend them the most. The next one is the lovely NDH 30. They have really cool design. They're foldable, and I like the color on them, the gray and silver. Sound signature, they're very flat. Maybe they can be boring, but they're very clean, and they also can be honest headphones. There is no exaggeration, but like if I have to compare them with the Utopia, of course the Utopia is much better. But for the NDH, they're very clean, crisp, and honest. Separation is good. Bass also, if I have to compare it with headphones that are very stingy with the bass, it's like the HD 600, Yeah, NDH is actually NDH30 is better in the bass. They're better than any 600 except for the S2. I think the NDH30 they're better than 600, better than 650, and I would actually keep them, but I don't like flat headphones. I don't think I enjoy them. I don't feel any musicality in them. I like sound signature when it's colored. So there is that. The next one is the next one is Sennheiser HD 800S. I don't know, man. They like so difficult to remember their names. Like so long. Just give me like I like what Stelia and I like what Focal did here. Stella, Utopia, Pro, easy to remember, right? Or maybe like Odes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But HD 600 S2, blah blah blah. It's just too much to remember. All right, so 800 S2. Where is it? See, I forgot the name. HD 800S. There is no S2. The 800, I think they're good. And overall sound signature, they're the brightest headphones I've owned and listened to. I do like sound signature where it's very bright. You know, it's so funny because I enjoy, I said, thick and heavy sound signature, such as the LCDX, especially when the bass is very like boomy. So sometimes I feel like my ear I also feel like heavy, and when I listen to something like the HD 800S, it fixes that issue. So it elevates. It's like as if it relaxes what's inside my eardrum. It feels more relaxed when I listen to the brightness of the HD 800S. So it's something that I see myself keeping. I enjoy bright headphones. They're not the best, brightest headphones, definitely. If I have to say the best bright headphones is the Utopia, but the price is a problem. So the HD 800S, they're brighter than they're the brightest one, I think, on this list. They're cool. I see them on discount sometimes. Buy them if you enjoy classic music. If you like open sound stage, like the sound stage when it's very wide, they're the best in that. A lot of people mention this, and I don't disagree. So the next ones are the HD 600. I think they're also very neutral, similar to the NDH theory, but they lack the punch in the bass. Honestly, I tried to use the same guy, EQ oratory guy, and they actually have sub bass a little bit if you EQ them, which is good, but I wouldn't really call them musical. They can be boring. So I'm moving to the next one, 650, and I can see what Sennheiser did here. They tried to make it more musical by making the mids more sound intimate, or you can say warm. They definitely sound warmer than the HD 600, and honestly there's also a difference in the bass. It's more bassier. If I remember correctly, they sounded more pronounced in the sub bass than the mid bass or punchiness. I don't remember that, but I remember there is a sub bass, and it's even further or more in the 660 S2, but out of them I still prefer 660 S2. Now the last one is the LCD5. This is something also I auditioned along with 4Z and Carbon 2. I didn't have enough time, but they do have something that I haven't heard in other headphones, is that the vocals are actually very intimate and warm. The vocals sounded more pronounced than the Elite 2, more pronounced than the Elite. And also they sounded overall warm, despite that people say that they're actually neutral, but I think they're warm. And I remember I'm listening to a certain track where there are vocals and bass. This is what I remember. Bass was not punchy. It was kind of flat, and they're not at the bottom of this rank. So they're probably, if I have to say, maybe they're between the Stellia and the Clear MG. Maybe they're at the highest, because I still don't I didn't have enough time with them, so that's why there's a question mark. I don't think they're bad, but it's safe to say they're in the B list. They're very expensive also, so I'm gonna just leave them like this. And the next list I have is the C list. So what do we have here? LCD2 Classics, Fostex TH900 MK2, also another difficult brand, difficult name. HD 820S, the 800S, but the close back. And finally we have the Hyphaman 1000 SE. Again, they're trying to be smart with their names. So the safest one out of them for my taste is the LCD2 Classics. It's a fun headphone. It was the first LCD that I tried and made me fall in love with Odyssey lineup. I remember the bass being very loose, kind of exaggerated, but in a good way. It's not punchy. Can be sounding holographic. There is soundstage in them, but sometimes you feel like you're missing the mids, because it feels like the mids far from your ear a little bit, and sometimes the mids and the treble sound like they're mixed together, like there's no differentiation, separation. So like if you want the better version of the LCD 2C, maybe just skip the 2 and just go to the X. I'm not saying they're bad, maybe I'm just stock. If you listen to their stock sound, I don't think they're good. Maybe they just need more EQ. Next one is the Fostex TH900 MK2. This one impressed me with their bass. So bass is the most pronounced, or what they excel at. I remember I EQ'd the LCD X, and the bass sounded very similar to the Fostex here. They do a great job on the bass. It's very punchy. It's the punchiest out of this tier list. But what I didn't like is that the mids can be flat, similar to other flat headphones like HD 600 or NDS 30. So not really musical in the bass. They're just very clean and clear and not musical. The only thing I liked is just the bass. So price wise is too much for this headphone. That's why I rank it in the C, because of value for money. Other than that, I think they're okay. Next one is the HD 800 820. I'm not sure if there's an S or not, but this is the closed version of the 800S. And there is actually difference between them. I like the 800S because of the soundstage. It's kind of like, if I have to, I auditioned them for like 5 minutes maybe, and I remember the soundstage just disappeared on the closed back one, the 820. I remember them sound like underwater effect. That's how they sounded to me. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh here, but I think a lot of people diss these kind of headphone, and maybe because they're expensive. But I actually don't remember how exactly they sounded. Like, for example, I don't remember the mids that much, or the treble. So, which tells me that if you don't remember, it means they don't stand out, or they're just mediocre. So that's why it's safe maybe to leave them in the C tier. Nothing so special about them. Not like, for example, LCD5. I remember the vocals, so fucking intimate and good, and sound good to me. Warm. I don't remember much about the Sennheiser HD 820, the closed back one. So the last one is the Hyphaman. And let me tell you guys, I'm not really a Hyphaman guy. I know a lot of people Like they would die for this brand, just like for example, the HiFiMan XS and Sondara. I hear a lot about it, but I auditioned the 1000 SE, and all I can remember was shrill, and they're very bright, so they reminded me of the HD 800S. With bass. So yeah, the bass, I think there is more bass in them than the 820. So are they more musical? Yeah, maybe more musical than the 800s, but I wouldn't really buy them. If I want bright headphones, I would just stick to my 800s. So I'm not a fan of these headphones. So they're also, I think they're more expensive than the 800. I could be mistaken, but for me, they don't stand out. I'm biased toward heavy notes, thick, warm, punchy headphones, and the 1000 SE was the opposite of that. So that's why they're in the C at the bottom of this rank. So moving on to the D tier, and this is where like kind of my hobby started. So at the top of this, I think the best value for money in this tier here is the HiFiMan 400. I don't remember the name. 400 SE also. So the HiFiMan 400 SE, they're at the highest of this rank because of their value for money. They sounded clear and also rich, which actually surprised me because I bought them for like 40% off and on Amazon, and they sounded really good. Like for their price, you get more than you deserve actually for what you paid for. They're really good. Maybe not enough bass. So if that's the case, then there is the Beyerdynamic DT770, which has a good bass on it. Can be muddy a little bit, and I remember the mids being very quiet, and also treble. I don't remember there was even treble. So mostly it's for bass headphone. It was a long time ago. I don't really remember it much. Honestly, I don't care much about this tier list because I moved forward from headphones that are cheaper than $200. So, but this is what I remember: the bass in the DT770, the clean sound, and the separation also in the 400 SE. I remember the AKG 702 being very bright. The open stage will maybe shock you. I also bought them for like 50% off from Amazon. They're good in that regard. Other than that, the bass, I think it's flat. They were good for just open sound stage. Last is the Philips SHP 9500, and the last one also we have Audio Technica. If I have to throw two headphones in the trash, probably these two. But I know a lot of people are fans of these headphones, especially the Audio Technica. So I'll finish talking about the 9500. I remember it being very thin, not enough separation. It's probably the cheapest headphone on the list, so I don't blame these headphones for how they sound. They're just the cheapest, and if you want to spend that much money on them, you better spend a little bit more and get the 400 SE from HiFiMan, or even get DT 900, the open version of the DT 770 from Beyerdynamic. I can't really say much about them. This is what I remember. It was like 2 years ago. So the next one is the Audio Technica M50X, and these are very weird. They have very weird tonality. I think they fucked up with their EQ and how they adjusted the sound in these headphones, because they sound so freaking weird. They're fatiguing. You will not realize how fatiguing they are unless you use them every day. So the treble, or not the treble, so the high mids are very pronounced, I remember, and they at the same time they sound hollow, like empty. They sound empty. Bass, I think bass, they try to be good at the bass, but they're not good. And honestly, it kind of reminded me of the Sony Z1R, but Sony Z1R are much more musical. The Sony Z1R also very weird. It has very weird tonality, but still they're very musical. And I'm the kind of guy who don't really like to look at charts because charts can be confusing, and I tell you why I don't like to look at charts. For example, you might find the cheapest headphone, alright, and it has the best looking chart. Wow, it looks scientifically amazing, and you can't wait to try it. Compare it with another headphone, very expensive, and it has stupid looking, ugly chart, and you would think that I'm not interested in it. It's gonna sound terrible. But honestly, the chart will not make sense here because once you try the expensive headphones, they might sound an end game to you compared to the cheap headphone with the best looking chart. So what matters here is experience. So you have to try the headphones more than trusting and relying on charts. So why I talk about charts? Because when I look at the Audio Technica, when I listen to them, it sounded weird to me, and I was interested in how their chart looked like. And I want to show you their chart, and oh my god, if you looked at the S&P 500, this is what the S&P 500 looked like, especially with the bearish trend right after the low triple. See that the bearish trend in the blue line. I mean, there is like a big area under the blue line starting from the mid up to the high triple, like this area here with the area in the low mid. Just these two combined together, these two areas, probably that's why they sounded very hollow to me and sharp and painful in the low triple or the high mids. Probably that's why I didn't like them, because of the biggest area under the blue line at the triple. And also you can see like a weird hump forming at the mid bass. Like I don't know what they try to do here. I would say the low triple is very aggressively increased up to 15 dp, and the same thing with the mid bass. It's also increased. Maybe that's why they try to make them sound bassy, but I don't remember much bass in them. So my guts tell me that probably if this headphone is EQ'd, maybe it will sound better, but I honestly don't care about it, because I know now if I have this kind of money, like it's worth 200 Canadian dollars. If you want to buy a headphone, don't buy it. Don't buy the Philips. Just go to Hyphaman, buy 400 SE, it's better. Buy DT 900. I haven't tried it, but I would assume they're better than the Audio Technica M50, because these two headphones that I ranked at the end of the D tier, the Philips and the Audio Technica, are the worst headphones I've tried, and I'd probably throw them in the trash tier. But they're very famous on Amazon. They have the most reviews and the most bought, the most famous. Even on Reddit, they're the most like talked about. But honestly, I don't see they're good. I don't think the Audio Technica deserve that much praise. Why don't we just praise something like the 400 SE? It's much better, I think. And I don't care if you're gonna tell me we can EQ it. I want something out of the box also. So what do I want to talk about next? Maybe just one point that I forgot to mention when I talked about the Utopia. I feel like I'm going hard on them, but I feel like they also deserve it because they're expensive and not worth it. I remember I auditioned many flagships, and the one that I like the most is the Meze Elite. I think Meze Elite, one of the flagships that I like the most. They have very musical tonality. They're crazy. And because of how much I like them, I don't own them, so I wanted my Utopia to sound like Meze Elite. So I asked ChatGPT, can you please EQ my Utopia to make it sound like the Elite? And my ChatGPT decided to create 35 bands of frequencies, maybe even more, like 40, 45. And the first time my ChatGPT created this profile, it didn't sound right. So I kept asking and asking and make adjustment and adjustment. And finally it produced kind of like a V-shape EQ profile. And it sounded like Meze Elite. And I'm thinking, wow, it really reminded me of the Meze Elite, not as 100% as close to the Meze Elite, because Meze Elite mids, I can see I'm more engaged in them, more musical than the EQ'd Utopia to match the Elite. But still I was thinking, this is actually interesting that I can make my Utopia sound like Meze Elite. And the Utopia is not bad. They're very fast, energetic, and they made me like this EQ incident made me like and appreciate the Utopia more. But still, why should I buy a Utopia to make it sound like a headphone that I like? Maybe I can just sell them and buy the headphone that I like, and I will get 100% the sound signature that I prefer, which is the Meze Elite. So that's about my tier list. Just a quick recap. Favorite headphones is the LCD-X. I use it every day. You can see me wearing it. S tier, I can see the Carbon 2 and the LCD4Z there. There's also another brand that I didn't talk about. I wish I have the money to buy them and try them. I'm actually dying to try them. I'm drooling to try them. They're the ZMF headphones. They do have the best sound signature that is matching my preference. Warm headphones. I can't wait to try the Atrium, the Caldera, the Elos, the Uter. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I want to try them in that ranking. Atrium first, then Caldera, then the rest. Like, you guys are hyping the Atrium a lot. You make me like wanna go now and buy them, but still, even if I buy them, I have to wait like 2 months to get them. They're handcrafted headphones. But also I'm worried that I'll be disappointed because they're not planar, and you can see that my A tier list, they're all planars headphones. I think my ears are sensitive to planar. They enjoy more planar drivers because more rich in producing sound, and they have the slam that I like, more 3D. Like, there is more sound stage, there is more openness in the slam they produce, where the dynamic driver, they can be not as lingering as not as decaying as the planar in sound. They can be faster, so I'm afraid that I might buy a ZMF and get disappointed. I know their Caldera is planar, but I mean, I have to try the Atrium first because of the hype. And they're also warmer than, with better and punchier bass than the Caldera. The Elos, I'm also interested in it because they're the warmest, seems like, from what I've read. They're the warmest headphones, even warmer than the LCD3 sounds like, which is something that I like to enjoy and listen to when I'm like wanna just chill and relax. And the bass is soft. It's okay, I can get over it. I have the X for this if I want bass. Now the Uter, the people call it the Super. People call the Atrium Super HD 650. People call the Uter Super HD 600. So they're like your neutral, warm HD 600 with strong bass, which is also something good, but I'm afraid that they will sound like the Fostex MK, Fostex TH 900 MK2. They're also neutral in the mids, I think, and they also sound to me like Super HD 600, which is really like boring. But from what I heard or read on internet, that the Outer is more warm than the HD 600. Which headphone that I would recommend the most based on value for money? Alright, so I can be quick with this. Straight up, the 660S2, I think the best value for money, because you can buy it from Amazon at 40% off, and I also see so many vendors online, they sell it for 40% off. So you'd be really lucky, because you can take my advice and just listen to a very musical headphone, very fun. But you might tell me I'm not getting enough from it, which I'm willing to spend more and even ask for more sound, richer sound. Definitely, hands down, out of all the headphones you see in front of you, the best one is the LCD-X. Sound is very rich, it's very musical, it's punchy, it's great headphones. Do you need to spend more than the LCD-X? Well, only if you're like an audiophile and like to own collection, then I would say yes, try to explore the rest. But if you just want musical headphones, 660S2. If you want to double your money, and well, LCD-X is a little bit more than the double of the price of the 660S2, but it's still pretty much worth it to double or more than double and get the LCD-X 100%. Alright, so I want to talk about what I want to buy next. So my first one that I want to buy is the LCD 4Z. It's on the top of my wish list. 4Z, I think I expect it to be the better version of the LCD-X. So that's that. Next one is the Atrium. I'm dying to try the Atrium. It's fucking warm and bassy, and people describe it as there is honey in your ear and caramel and all that. Okay, I'll try it. All right. It's sweet. It's sweet. It's sweet headphones. I like that. Next, I want to try is the Caldera. Also, I like it. It's a planar headphone. I like planar headphones. Next, I want to try is the Elos. Maybe the Elos before the Caldera, because of how sweet it sounds. Even more intimate than the Atrium. It's good. I like that, but you will miss the slam and bass and the Elos. Last one I'm intrigued to try is the Uter, because of what people describe it as a Super HD 600, but still warmer. So yeah, I think I can see myself trying LCD 4Z first, Atrium, then the Elos. Sure. What about the Elite and the MD Z1R? Those are also on my wish list, but I know what to expect from them, so I'm trying to discover new headphones, a new sound signature, something like the ZMF I haven't heard of, so that's why they're on the top of my wish list. Later I can buy the Elite, later I can buy the Z1R. I know what to expect from them, I know what they sound like. It's something that I'm not hungry for, so maybe the Z1R is something that I want to listen to because of the bass. And there are also other type of headphones that I'm probably gonna try, but maybe I see myself trying them maybe after 2 years, because of like I can make a huge list of what I want to try. So there is the LCD5. I still remember how the vocals sounded intimate and warm. There's also like ZMF Verity or Veriti, which sound bright, something I might be interested into. There is also LCD2, the paddock version. Do I need this one in my collection? Maybe not, because I already have the LCD3 and they're warm and sweet and nice. So yeah, I might update my list and then at the end of next year once I buy the Atrium and 4Z and the Elos. So these are the most anticipated one I want to listen to. I want to thank you guys so much for joining and liking my video. If you want to discuss, if you want to disagree, if you want to diss, you name it, you can just leave a comment and we're gonna talk about which headphones you think should be in the SAB. This is very subjective. This is not based on, well, a lot of people will agree that the Utopia should be S tier, not in my case, because of the sound signature, because of value for money also. So once again, thank you guys for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.